Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on July the 10th, 2018. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, a man who's trying to kill me with food.
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we've played. Valve leaks Steam game player counts. Pokemon Go has brought in $1.8 billion since its launch. Doki Doki Literature Club is blamed for a UK teen's suicide. Psychologists and scholars condemn the WHO classifying gaming disorder as an addiction. We will have a Steam Weekly Discovery queue this week. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rach.
Hello.
I say as if we haven't been talking for over an hour. We've definitely got a fully bankable episode off of the pre-roll for this episode.
Wait, is that a bad thing?
No, that's a good thing. I pull snippets of things, but I haven't actually put together a Franken episode in a little bit. But this one, I'll just go and peel off the first hour of the Skype call recording, and boom, there's an episode.
Clear out some of the dead air and
yeah,
and there you go.
And it's completely themed too. We spent the entire time, most of the entire time, talking about food and
or cookware.
Cookware.
Because that's what I was killing a bit of time. I wrapped up all my pre-recording stuff, and it's like, let's go on Amazon wishlist a couple of things to pick up next time around. I'm picking up things from Amazon.
Yeah,
and that's what got us started. And for that, I do not apologize.
I don't apologize either. I got a snack in the middle of it, which sent us on another food-related tangent about breakfast food.
Yeah, which successfully made myself hungry.
Yeah, you made me hungry too, and I just had a snack.
Well, last thing I had was I had some of my leftover manwich, which the new flavor I got just on a lark because it was I had a fairly decent coupon on it. It was actually fairly decent. It's the bourbon barbecue manwich. It's a lot sweeter and smokier than a regular manwich.
Nice. I usually add a little bit of barbecue sauce to manwich anyways. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of sloppy joes. Like, they're okay. I'll eat them.
Mm-hmm. But
they're not my favorite. So I usually add a little something to it to make it
a little something,
more appetizing. A little something.
Well, this, I saw it on sale through the coupon and thought, why not? It was particularly this flavor. It's not, just, any of the flavors.
Mm-hmm.
It was advertising the new one, and I thought, why not? My store actually carried it, which is kind of a theme for me. Does my local grocery store have this? The poor dairy guy was so pissed last time I was there because I went Monday. I did go yesterday. My days are a little mixed up right now.
Yeah, you went yesterday morning.
I went yesterday morning, fairly early in the morning, just after all the supply trucks run and they're moving everything out. And they had a big discount on coffee creamer, and they were wiped out. And he was trying to put it all back on the shelf, and he was upset that they don't give him enough room to really be able to get a good supply. And everybody's bugging him.
Yeah. Coming up and taking it. It's like, I'll just take some of this.
Yeah, but Doug is a nice guy. Grumpy at times, but nice.
So kind of like you.
Yeah, only he's a lot blacker.
Okay.
And he constantly wears a coat because he's in the dairy section.
Yeah, did I ever tell you that at one point I thought you might be black? Just because of how deep your voice was?
No, you didn't.
I've told you that I've pictured you like looking like my uncle before, like this really tall, burly man. Because you have a voice like his too. But also at one point, like before I got to know you, I thought, like one of the thoughts was maybe he's black just because of how deep and baritone-y your voice can be at times.
Not sure how I want to take this.
I know, it sounds like it could definitely be racist. And I recognize that the moment I opened my mouth, but fuck it. I already started, so I'm just going to go with it.
Well, to be fair, I do like my watermelon.
Oh, you took it. Okay, thanks. You took the pressure off of me on the racist angle. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Take one for the team.
And I was trying to decide how I want to make my chicken.
Yep. I'm just going to leave that one hanging up there for you. Not going to pursue it any farther. But yeah. At one point, I thought that might be the case.
No, I'm far too pale to be black.
That's fair.
Unless I'm Michael Jackson.
That you don't sound like him at all, so.
As far as you know, this could be voice modulation and your entire life could have been a lie.
That is very true. My entire life could be a lie. I hope not. Trying to figure out how to transition or segue out of this, but I don't really have one. So, hey, Rach, what games did you play this week?
Well, it could have required a little bit of detective work.
Oh, nice.
I played a little bit of the Tesla Effect: A Tex Murphy Adventure. This is a throwback to the old, well, it's not really a throwback because it's more of a continuation of the old Tex Murphy full motion video games from the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm actually not sure when they came out, to be perfectly honest. I picked this up on deep discount at one point, and I've kept meaning to play it. And I finally, after not really realizing didn't really have anything to talk about this week, because I was originally wanting to talk about City Skylines, but turns out my mods or something broken somewhere and it's completely fucked my save file. So I'm going to have to do a complete rebuild, which is going to take me a good week. And that's not even counting having to spend time with New Vegas. So, pull something that I've been meaning to play. This is a game that really feels of two parts. It has its full motion video segments, which are done fairly well. I have noticed that the bitrate is a little low on these games. There's a lot of blockiness, particularly in the reds, which is a sign that they turn down the bitrate a bit much. But to be fair, this game is fucking huge for what it is, because it has so much video in it. 1080p video. But it's very noticeable, particularly in the intro. This is set in, I'm blanking on the actual year, but it's like 100, 200 years from now. There's flying cars. It's a sci-fi detectives show. And you play as Tex Murphy, freelance investigator and part-time dance instructor. No, I'm not joking.
Part-time dance instructor?
Yes, he's actually also a dance instructor in between investigations, and that's one of the first things that you see on his door. They do the traditional go up to the private eye's door and it opens up. And I saw that, I thought, dance instructor? And whenever you're eventually get control, you're able to look around and you see like tango charts on the wall. But it's very, very, very cheesy, which makes me think that you would absolutely love this game.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've thought I would like it, but I've never...
I think you would. It's just... It's very old school in its game design, on both a good and bad side of things, because it's very obtuse, but it also has a fully built-in walkthrough if you just want to essentially just enjoy the ride. And it has two game modes: a more casual mode, where as you look around, it'll highlight what you can actually pick up. But then the hardcore mode, which is essentially the same game, only it disables the walkthrough. It makes it so that the hint system is a lot more toned down, and it doesn't sparkle the pickup things. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting game. I really like the full motion video segments of it, but the in-betweens where you're in first person walking around, because there's no map and you have to, and you're kind of just feeling yourself, feeling yourself. You're feeling around. it feels a bit more obtuse. It feels like it's lacking direction because it's more of a like an almost pseudo. I don't want to call it open world because it's not. It's in segments, but you're able to pretty much freely roam around a fairly large area with some travel options as well. And it feels like I was a little bit lost, but it may just been, I wasn't quite in the mood for it. And I just wanted to have something to play. But I do really enjoy the sense of humor of the game. Well, let's put it this way. Your hint system is your essentially your AI personal assistant, all right? And the item is called a Smart Alex.
Okay.
Smart Alex.
I like that. Smart. Yep, I get it.
And the voice is Kevin Murphy from Mystery Science Theater. And there's 2 or 3 very rapid fire Mystery Science Theater references. Like in his office, there's a gumball machine, and text says, I wish I could have a talking gumball machine as a companion. And there's at least 2 quotes from Mystery Science Theater that Kevin Murphy says. So yeah, they nail the humor right off. But yeah, Kevin Murphy is a pretty good comedic voice artist. So yeah, it's kind of a given that they'll hit that with him. But like I said, it's just a lot of wandering around, and even looking at the walkthrough, there's a lot of very, very almost obtuse stuff if you aren't quite in the mindset of the game developers. Granted, I didn't read too much into just the step by step to try to avoid spoiling myself. But the storyline, it does the amnesia intro, where you get bonked on the noggin, and you don't really, you're essentially thinking it's 7 years ago. Pretty much the beginning of Tex Murphy's adventures. And you're able to get bits and pieces and flashbacks. And that's how they kind of resolve, bring in new people while still having the older players be able to have callbacks, that sort of thing. But they do some really interesting things with the flashbacks as well. For example, he talks about, oh yeah, I remember I got that during this big gunfight. And then they do the flashback, and you expect full motion video. No, it's the old gameplay 2D scroller trying to fight your way through this boss battle. And they also are able to resolve the lower resolution a lot, fairly well on some of the old full motion video where they do flashbacks as well, where they have a full screen effect in a frame to make up for the fact that it was 640 by 480, I want to say. So
okay.
it looks absolutely, it looks like a postage stamp on modern resolutions. So they are able to resolve that fairly well as in callbacks and flashbacks to bring people like me who are familiar with full motion video games but never played this particular series, be able to bring them up to speed a bit.
Yeah, I've never played any of the previous Tex Murphy games, but I have played quite a few FMV games.
I didn't play quite a few. I played a couple, but it's one of those things that I remember I played them, but I don't really remember much about them. The full motion video era fad, I'm not really sure what I want to call it. It is a very interesting time in PC gaming. Well, particularly PC gaming. There was a bit on the Sega CD, but it really fell off by the time it went to the Dreamcast. But it was one of those times that storage really outstripped the ability to fill it. So once CDs came into play, the developers really didn't know what to do with all that room. Unless you're on a Nintendo system, then you're really confined still.
Yeah, on the cartridges.
Well, even when they finally went to disc, They still had the little mini
Yeah, because
disc.
they used the mini discs. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting era. Maybe we should talk about doing that at some point, but resolution's going to be a bitch. But yeah, it's a very interesting throwback to a long gone era. And I would like to see more games like this, but the downside is that these games are absolutely massive because they have to do full 1080p video. There's a reason why you don't see many of these anymore, because on top of that, it's, unless you're going for the cheeseball factor, which it does nail, like one of the first guys you run into, is a mutant a bar owner that lives near Tex. And the makeup is purposely bad. He has obviously rubber teeth, which may have looked a lot better in the older video, but these days, because they're going for the cheeseball factor, it works.
Yeah. I know I haven't bought this. I've gotten it in a month or something. Okay. You're kind of talking me into wanting to buy it. The Steam sale just ended.
Yeah, I think you would really enjoy this. I think this would make an interesting Game Club game.
Oh, wait. It says I have it in my library. Tesla Effect. I tried searching for just Tex Murphy.
Yeah, it's listed as Tesla Effect, not Tex Murphy. I gave the full name, though.
Yeah, Tesla Effect. Oh, that's the original.
It does show that you own this. So, Game Club list?
Tesla Effect, a Tex Murphy.
Yeah, you have this.
When I search for Tesla, it just says Tesla Effect.
It says that you haven't played it, but you own it. Yeah, it's listed as Tesla Effect on the Steam library. It's not listed as Tex Murphy.
Oh, so it's not... okay. All right. Why? System 2. Okay. Then yeah, I've got it. Sure. Why not?
Oh, so are you going to buy it again now?
No, I'm good. I don't think I need to buy it again.
So so Game Club list now?
Sure.
I didn't realize that you had it. I didn't really look. It's just out. I wanted something to play.
Yeah, I'm gonna mark it to install.
Well, this ought to give you an idea of the sort of the humor of the game, just the trailer itself. But even whenever you go into the cast list on the Steam Store page, Larry, Soup Nazi Thomas. You've all seen Seinfeld, right? June, TV's greatest mom, Lockhart. Ask someone even older if you don't know who that is. Todd
Nice.
Bridges, Willis from Different Strokes. Ask someone older if you don't know who that is. But yeah, that'll give you an idea. It is a fucking big game. According to the trailer, it has the quote from Yahtzee, 16 freaking gigabytes, which for the how the game looks when it's not full motion video, it's absolutely massive. It looks like it's from about 2010-ish.
Right, but like you said, it would be all of the 1080p video files.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and play some of the older games now. But it's more of a... I'm not even sure if they would run right these days. But it's the same actor. Completely overacting,
As it should be.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the charm.
For an F&B game.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the old Command and Conquer was, wasn't it? All overacting.
All overacting.
Need for Speed, same way.
Yep.
I mean, even Need for Speed has gotten rid of their full motion video.
Which is sad.
But yeah, I think, this is going to be a good game club for like late in the year or next year. Because we were actually talking about Game Club earlier.
Indeed. So what else you been playing?
Well, the other one really ties into our food theme for our pre-show. Battle Chef Brigade. I have the Steam link, even though this was in the Twitch Prom crazy bundle. This is such a weird, wonderful game. All right. This is essentially a set in the world like Monster Hunter, where giant monsters have pretty much devastated the land. But instead of a fighters guild taking over everything, it's essentially Iron Chef gone mad, as in the TV show. You play as a girl who is trying to get into the Battle Chef Brigade by going through this massive tournament, which is essentially Iron Chef. And it's a combination of Match 3 Puzzler, 2D Brawler, a little bit of pseudo-visual novel, and a puzzle game, because you have to also try to figure out how to work with the judges, because in the game you have a few different game modes throughout the main campaign. You have a puzzle mode where you have to figure out the board, which is a little bit different from your typical Match 3 puzzler. Instead of moving individual gems and swapping places with them, you're stirring. So you have a set of 4 gems that you turn either clockwise or counterclockwise to have your Match 3. And you're able to do that fairly freely on the board. But you fill up your board by adding ingredients in the main mode. In the puzzle mode, you're just trying to get a certain score by building up your Match 3s. But in order to get the ingredients, you go on a 2D brawler area and fight things, pick up the ingredients, and run back to the kitchen. Very Iron Chef style, if your Iron Chef involved murder. It's just such a weird but fun combination of things. There's not a lot to talk about here because it is, pretty much essentially a Match 3 puzzler. But with a RPG mechanic, a battle mechanic, more of an overall puzzle theme, because it's not just building up your score, but individual judges may want a particular taste. There's the so far in my game, 3 elements: the red, the yellow, and the blue. And different judges may prefer like the taste of a more earthy taste, which is green. So you want a predominantly green dish.
Enjoy the taste of green.
Yeah. Yeah, that money.
Yeah.
It's like the Futurama take on Iron Chef, where they garnish with money.
Yeah.
While another judge may enjoy a more fiery, spicy taste, which is red. So you have to try to balance things out with your ingredients, and also level up the individual components by stirring the different ingredients together to make your dish. It's such an interesting concept. Adult Swim Games, the publisher of this, always has some weird yet wonderful games, and this is right up right there with it.
Yeah.
I was wanting to pick this up on the Steam sale, and when I saw the Twitch Prime had this, I pretty much dropped it from my wish list to get it there. And I'm glad I was able to play it, because it is a lot of fun. It's going to be probably a game I go back to every so often to play. It's just such a weird combination of parts,
Yeah. I've seen stuff about this game on lots of places in the last few months, and it's been really interesting, intriguing looking game that I've said that I'll get and play with, and I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, you have it now.
Yeah, from the Twitch Prime stuff. But, so that will speed up I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
At least I don't have to buy it anymore.
Yeah, it is a lot more story focused than I was expecting it to be, because there's a large segment in between the individual kitchen battles, at least at the start. I'm only in like the 2nd chapter. And there's the hunting, which in between the battles, you're able to build up money by doing various jobs around town. which factors into the RPG element because you're able to buy stuff from the shop to help your chef during the battle. So, for example, you could get ingredients to have already on stock. For example, you could have jerky that you could throw into the thing that has a very spicy flavor. You can have individual pots that enhance the various elements. So, like, you can have a pot that gives twice the power to blue elements, but you're unable to match any other colors with it. So you have to juggle your dish in between that and other pots to try to maximize your score. There's a very strategic element to this that I was not quite expecting to hit so quickly. I was expecting to have some sort of strategy to it eventually.
Yeah, I've heard that around like chapter 4 or
yeah, I could see it getting very crazy.
Really difficult.
Yeah, I could see it getting very crazy, getting very quickly. Just from all the systems working off one another, which is not a bad thing. But I think fans of Match 3 Puzzlers may be in for a shock to hit it that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I might play that this week. I might just see what games I have on the Twitch Prime app at this point. Or the Twitch app. Or whatever it is. The Twitch launcher.
Mm-hmm.
Desktop launcher. Just because, I've been getting games from there for months now.
Yeah,
I'm not just like every time there's one that pops up, I'm like, oh, I'll grab this.
Yeah, I'm only a couple months into Twitch Prime, but this month is absolutely crazy with Twitch Prime. They're doing 21 games overall. A couple of them are like multi-game bundles, so that it's a little cheating, but some absolutely major games. Hell, I got Banner Saga 1 and 2. That was also on my wish list.
Yep, I too have Banner Saga 1 and 2 from them, which has been on my wish list.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's also a Game Club possibility. Different months, of course, because we definitely don't want to try cram 2 Banner Sagas into one thing.
Yeah, definitely not, but that's something to have for down the line. Very end of this year, maybe next year, because we've got the next 3-4 months planned out.
Yeah. Hey, we actually have a plan.
September, over the next 3 months planned out.
Yeah, it's rare that we plan out that far in advance of our game club.
Yeah, usually we sit down sometimes the day before or the day of the podcast. Like, so what game do we want to play next month? I don't know.
Well,
should we theme it somehow?
Well, we've been better about that and doing it a week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but should we spoil at least next month? We pretty much decided that Fallout New Vegas is going to be 2 months.
Yeah, that game's so big. We're going to do the July as like the main story and August as the DLC stuff.
Yeah, have you figured out what path you're going to take? I think I have.
No. I have not.
You do know what I'm talking about.
The main story?
Yeah.
You mean like which faction, basically?
Mm-hmm.
I'm between 2. I know one I'm definitely not gonna do.
Yeah, I think we can agree with that one.
But yeah, I can't decide which.
Which supposedly it was going to be a lot more fleshed out in the final game, but they had to cut stuff. I'm assuming we're both ruling out Caesar's Legion right away.
Yeah, definitely.
Fuck them.
They hate me. Yeah, fuck them.
Well,
they hate me anyway.
Well, you threw a grenade at them.
I threw a lot of things at them. Dynamite, grenades, bullets, javelins.
Yeah, I'm no expert, but maybe you want to shoot bullets at them and not throw at them.
I can throw really hard. Yeah. In that first, what is it? Prim? Nipton. I killed all of them there.
Yeah, I made that mistake on my first playthrough.
Oh, it wasn't a mistake. I did it on purpose. I knew what I was getting myself into, but fuck those guys.
I'll just storm the castle later.
But yeah, I'm between the other 2 choices. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, but let's not confer on that one and see if we follow the same path, because on choices like that, we tend to actually follow the same line of reasoning.
We do indeed.
It's kind of creepy actually. Whenever we both do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, is that all you have to say about Battle Chef Brigade?
Yeah, it's a very weird but fun game, at least so far. I can see how, it getting very difficult very quickly, which may put off some people that are into the more match 3 puzzler, even though this is also a very weird match 3 puzzler with just how you interact with the game board. I think that in this also feels like it is very geared towards gamepad, because that is kind of a strike against it. It had some very weird keyboard controls. It doesn't use the mouse at all because, it uses the stirring mechanic, but it's WASD and the arrow keys.
Does it have controller support?
Yes, it has controller support, and I've been using my DualShock 4 with it.
Okay.
But I started the game with the keyboard because, I saw Match 3 puzzle and I didn't realize it had the stirring mechanic instead of a traditional, swapping gems.
Yeah.
So I thought I was getting into that, so that's why I was doing mouse and keyboard, or keyboard first. So, know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. Okie dokie. Well, the first game on my list is called First Strike Final Hour. This is a game I got from Emailer, and I finally decided to play one of those.
Yeah, I got this as review copy as well. It actually came out fairly recently, in May.
Yeah. So it is a real-time strategy type game. It's not like strategy in the traditional sense of like you produce units and move them around and stuff like that, but
DEFCON.
You play do what?
It's essentially a take on DEFCON.
I've never played that.
Well, I look at this. Have you ever seen DEFCON? DEFCON? Mm-hmm. It's by Introversion, which is the people that made Prison Architect.
Okay.
DEFCON, sorry to derail you, but it's essentially the ending sequence to War Games as a video game.
Yeah.
This is just as it is a globe.
Yeah, I've never played this before or seen it or heard of it. Interesting. So yeah, this is kind of like that. You control a nation that has access to nuclear weapons, and there's 10 in total that you can play. You start with 4 of them. And they vary in difficulty based on how much territory they start with. So the United States is listed as the easiest initially because it has the most starting territories. And North Korea is listed as the hardest because it has the least amount of starting territory.
And does it actually have missiles at work?
It does. It does.
Also, not realistic.
So you start out with access to very basic nuclear weapons. You get like a nuclear-tipped cruise missile, and the ability to research things and expand your territory to take over new plots on the map, essentially. And each one allows you to... they give you different amounts of slots to put weapons there, so you can do cruise missiles. I forget what AMBM stands for, but they're like short-range ballistic missiles, and you get ICBMs. And then there are a variety of super weapons that you can unlock as you go throughout the game, and one of them is like, there's a space laser.
Damn.
There's...
sorry. The PC tax on this is horrendous. I was thinking, wow, that does look like a mobile interface, and sure enough, it's on iTunes.
I didn't realize that, but I'll talk about that in a minute, because this game is frantic and sometimes like difficult to control just with like a mouse, because you're like, oh shit, going all over the place trying to defend. I couldn't imagine playing this.
It's $4 on iTunes.
It's not a bad game. It's frantic. It's fun. It's a little bit silly in the way that it's presented to you, and how simplified things are. And it's mostly just about, how well can you defend and expand your territory at the same time. And you get some things that can help you. Like one of the research things is an automatic defense system. So as long as you have cruise missiles, which are the only things that can defend against other incoming missiles, whenever a missile flies over your territory, it'll automatically get shot down. But it doesn't respond as quickly, so it's easier to overwhelm the automatic defense system than if you're doing it yourself. So you still have to kind of help out a little bit. The super weapons are fun and silly. I've won a couple of games and unlocked some of the other stuff. You can play through a game in about, as long as you don't like die pretty early on, you can play through an entire game in 30 to 45 minutes. And there's no really like difficulty. The difficulty is determined by your starting country with how much territory you have. But typically, if you can survive for about 15 minutes, you can even yourself out. And if you play really heavy defense, even with like North Korea, which I said only starts with one single territory, you can do all right. As you unlock more nations, you can play with more AI at once. So initially, you can only play with 4. But as you start unlocking them, you can start bumping the number up. So there's 10 in total. I've played with a max of 6 now. And 6 can get really hectic. There's diplomacy, which is super simple. Like you just build like a super pack. And then you can defend each other's territory and get like notifications when they're doing stuff and benefit from their research. But it's really hard to keep up with because when you're in the diplomacy screen, you can't do anything. Like, time slows down, but still, you can't do anything. And you have to wait for all of the diplomacy counters to, like, count down, and then you become someone's ally.
Mm-hmm.
But the alliances are temporary, so you have to keep going back to it if you want to keep having an alliance. And the computer, or the AI, seems to be able to manage this a lot better than I could. I found myself just lone wolfing it after the early game. Because once you have so much territory, the AI is not likely to ally with you anyways, because they see you as a big threat. So it's pretty useful in the early game for defense, but later on, like I said, I just found myself lone wolfing it. The mobile thing makes sense, though, actually, now that I think about it, because I didn't realize it was a mobile title.
Well, I just looked at the interface and thought, wow, I remember getting the review code on this, but it came out late May, so I think I was distracted with something else, but I remember looking at the UI and thinking, wow, that looks very mobile-esque.
Yeah, well, you have to, like, confirm every launch, and it looks like you'll have to double-click, and I'm assuming that's, like, the double tap, and it's, like, a circle and stuff. It makes sense now. I'm like, this is weird. Like, it feels like it's definitely inspired by, like, mobile game design, but I didn't realize it actually was also on mobile devices.
Or at least on Apple.
Yeah.
Didn't see it on I saw it on iTunes, but not the Play Store.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
With no, never mind. It's there. I just didn't find it at first. It was on like page 3 in my search.
Because it's like you click on like a territory, and then you'll get like a radial wheel that you click on a thing that you want it to do.
It is even cheaper on Android. It's $2 there.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like this game honestly is only worth like $3-4 max. It's a fun little game, but there's not a ton of depth to it. I basically won the 2 games that I played by doing the exact same thing. Having some alliances at the beginning, playing real defensive, and then lone wolfing it at the end, and just being sure to cover my territory with lots of automated defense missiles, so that it was difficult to be overwhelmed by what's called the first strike, which launches all of your available weapons that can reach your target at once.
Okay.
So you can rain like 25 or more ICBMs down on someone.
All right, if you like this, I would suggest checking out DEFCON by Introversion. It's a bit different, though. It starts off, it's real-time strategy like this, but it has stages of escalation. It starts out at DEFCON 5. And you place your units. You have submarines, you have fleets of battleships and aircraft carriers. You have radar stations that you can place in your territory. You choose, or you're able to choose one of I want to say 5 different regions, and different regions are different difficulties based on your area. You don't have expansion of your territories though, so but you place radar, you place your air bases, that sort of thing, and it's a bit different on real-time strategy in that you're not able to produce your units, you control them, and you can actually have, it has an office mode which has real-time battle, as in the game takes 8 hours. All right,
Okay.
so this is actually a good laptop game for you.
Yeah.
But submarines are able to do essentially surprise attacks. They're equipped with nuclear missiles, but you have a limited stockpile. So, you don't just want to first strike and be done with it. You want to try to strategically take out various things. Aircraft are able to intercept missiles. You have surface-to-air missiles that you can place to try to shoot down aircraft and shoot down missiles. And the idea is to essentially die the least. It's not, expansion and everything. It's essentially, it's not winning the game. It's who loses the least. And everything's measured in mega deaths. It's an actual term. I'm not joking.
That sounds interesting.
It's a term for every million dead. So, and every time you nuke a city, you take out essentially half its population. So, you want to try to spread out your attacks as well and try to strategically strike in various spots. It's actually very difficult, and has this real moody tone to it as well. I guess I'm going to have to add this to my game list now.
Yeah.
Granted, I haven't played this in ages.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's all about managing your resources. It's a very interesting take on the real-time strategy aspect of things, because it's not about unit management so much as unit survival, and, well, it is unit management, not unit production, I should say.
Right.
It's one of those games that isn't really well known, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd never heard of it before, so... And it's been around for a long time. It says it released, it was in 2006, so 12 years old at this point.
Yeah, it should be able to run on a potato at this point.
Excellent. Perfect for my laptop.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's your homework for the week.
Well,
Office
I have to
mode.
buy it.
Well, it's pretty cheap, isn't it?
It's $10. I've spent 100% of my wallet on the Steam sale.
Yeah, I think it goes
put it on my wish
pretty
list.
cheap. Yeah, I'm just wanting to see historic low. I'm pretty sure it goes like $2 or $3.
And it was historic low was 99 cents.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, when it's on sale, I'll pick it up.
Yeah. Next Steam sale. And your homework for then is office mode. Get a feel for it, and then do 8-hour game throughout your therapy.
During one day.
Yeah.
I'd do that. Okie dokie.
Oh, and I didn't say the escalation is on. It's very interesting, where it starts out DEFCON 5, where you're able to just move around units, and whenever something's in range, you're able to see them. But as it goes down the DEFCON situations, more actions become available. Airstrikes become available, I think, like at DEFCON 3, with full-out nuclear missiles, at DEFCON 1.
Sweet.
I didn't mention what the escalation was exactly, did I? So, there we go.
So, next on my list, then, Astroneer. Astroneer was the last game that I bought on the Steam sale after I had refunded a few things and had all the money back in my wallet. And Astroneer is a procedurally generated space exploration game, or planet space exploration game, with little tiny bit of like base building type stuff. The bases that you build are fairly simple, at least so far. But you can build vehicles and spacecraft and things like that. They're sort of pre-designed things, so you can't. It's not like Space Minecraft or Space Engineers or something like that. It's definitely focused much more on the exploration and sort of beauty aspects of the game. And it's been enjoyable so far. I played it for a couple of hours, which is enough to let me know that I like the game, but only scratching the surface of the depth of what this game has to offer. The art style is really like this interesting mix of cute and beautiful. When you're like your character and the way that the items and vehicles are designed are really cute looking, and the equipment you use. But when you're out exploring and like the sun is rising on the horizon, it's got a very sort of No Man's Sky-esque quality to it. Like it's a screenshot, it's a screenshot generator in a lot of ways. And you can see some of that in the screenshots that they've chosen to show off on the store page. There's only a couple of like real beauty shots, but the ones that are there are gorgeous. The game is slow going as a single player. You can play it single player just fine, but it feels certainly like it's designed to push the multiplayer exploration aspect. Lots of things take lots of time and need lots of babysitting, and when you have more players around, you can go through it faster. Like the starting base that you have generates a very small amount of power, so you can only run a couple of things at a time efficiently. Like everything runs, but it scales based on how much power it's getting. So, if something's only getting 5% of the available power, it only runs at 5% of its maximum speed for research and like building platforms and crafting things that you need. And you can build like additional power generators and stuff and stick them into the system, but they have to be fed by fuel. And various generators use different types of fuel. And eventually you can get like solar panels and stuff and batteries to store charge, so that you can run much more efficiently. But in the early game, like you have to constantly feed these generators with power or with fuel so that they power your base. And as one person, you can only babysit your base for a little while, and you have to explore and go get more resources and stuff. And so while you're gone, everything is running super inefficiently. And research takes forever. You take the little resource like blocks or pegs that you get. That like everything is like a peg that gets slotted into like a hole on either your suit or a storage platform or something. So you put one peg of resources at a time into the research machine, and based on like the complexity of the thing that you've put in, or like how high it is on the sort of tier list of materials, you get more research out of it for your time. But it still takes 15, 20, 30 minutes to research something at full power. So if your base isn't running at full power, if it's only running at 5 or 10% capacity, then it will, that's only running at 5 or 10% speed. So researching things takes a long time. And that's, how you unlock everything, is research it. You're able to fabricate it in your 3D printer back at your base and build it and expand like that. It uses this weird little tethering system. So when you're out, you're constantly using the oxygen, and depending on what equipment you're using, you might be using your suit power too. And when that runs out, you suffocate and die. And you've only got enough for a few minutes at a time away from something that you're tethered to. So essentially you have to build this long line of, I forget what they're called, but they're like just big stakes you put in the ground that you can tether to. And you just build this long line of them out in a direction so that you can explore. There's no combat in the game. There is some danger, like, you can fall to your death. There's a few things in the world which can damage you, like poison gas or a few like.
Wait, how's the poison
types.
gas getting into your spacesuit?
I don't know. Video game logic, man.
Ding. I think that's a fair question, don't you?
I do think that. I was like, why is this poison gas hurting? Oh, I'm dead. But I'm wearing a spacesuit. You can suffocate and die if you, run out of oxygen.
Maybe that's why you need the tether, is that, you're Mark Watney and you have a hole in your spacesuit and you're Iron Manning around.
Maybe. Headcanon accepted.
See, in order to get off the tether longer, you need a roll of duct tape. And your little Astroneer has duct tape on his helmet then.
Well, you can get oxygen pegs to put in your suit so that you can breathe for a lot longer away from the tether if you want to, like, explore a cave or something like that, not tether your way down inside. But even then, like, even if you filled your whole suit up with oxygen resources, you could really only explore for probably 20 minutes.
Well, see,
without being next to a tether.
Well, that's where you're going wrong. You needed some nitrogen in and mix the two. You don't want to go pure oxygen. I mean, we learned that the hard way in the space system.
Fair play. A little bit of real knowledge dropping right there.
Yo, dog, I got knowledge.
But yeah, it's, everything's really cute. There's you can be killed in storms too. That's the main way that I die. Like, I'm stuck out in the open when a huge windstorm blows up.
And then you are Mark Watney.
Debris and shit will, like, blow around and you can get hit. The easiest way to survive is to just hide in your space pod or dig a hole with your, like, mining thing and just hide in the hole until the storm blows over. That part's a little bit finicky, like trying to build or use the terrain manipulating tool to build, like, little platforms and land bridges and stuff. It's a little frustrating to use, which sucks because that's a huge, exploration is the whole point of the game, and it's like, ooh, I want to go up there. How do I get up there? Oh, well, build, a little platform or a land bridge or something, but then, like, you fall off and you die or whatever. There needs to be more options for the terrain manipulator tool, because it's basically got dig, raise, and level, but there's no way to expand or contract, like, your little circle.
Oh no!
It manipulates the terrain.
Oh, no brush size.
Yeah, there's no brush size adjustment, and it's just by default just barely big enough for you to stand on. So it takes it's taken some practice to even get, like,
maybe
halfway able to use it.
Maybe your suit needs to have some blue pegs put in it to make your brush bigger.
Sure, that would be great. But overall, it's a really cute, really fun game. I'm interested to see where it goes. Interested to see what there is to do as I work my way up the tech tree, because there's a lot of stuff that I just don't have access to yet. Like I said, vehicles, ships. You can explore a multitude of planets in your randomly generated galaxy or solar system or whatever. And I look forward to exploring some of the multiplayer stuff. Jim has this game, and he's asked me once or twice to play, and there's not been a good time when I've been able to yet. But I'm definitely going to play with Jim. Cube has this game. A couple other people on my friends list have it.
Yeah, this has been on my wish list for ages. It's just never pulled the trigger on it. And it has such a... Okay. How is this game relevant to you? Because it, has that here. The Long Dark and RimWorld.
Yeah, this game is definitely not like RimWorld. I haven't played The Long Dark, so I don't know.
What, you don't mean that there's raiders that show up?
Nope, there's no raiders. There's no nothing. Just you and the elements. The elements are the only thing the elements are falling and stubbing your toe too hard. It's the only things that can kill you.
And getting impaled, very Mark Watney.
Yeah. Speaking of Mark Watney and a Mars-like planet, Planet Stronghold is the last game that I played this week. This is a visual novel style RPG. It looks like a visual novel. All of your conversations play out like a visual novel, but it's got a turn-based battle system and a huge variety of places to explore, at least based on the map. I don't know how much each of those places play into the main storyline. I've only played it for an hour or so. But I mean, it's a sci-fi RPG with visual novel elements, which, like, ticks off a bunch of boxes for me.
But this doesn't look like it's crap.
No, I just finished off the tutorial section of the game, which introduces you to the first group of main characters and gives you your first full squad to command. I mean, if you've ever played like a turn-based battle game or a JRPG, you get the gist of how this works. You have different weapons and armor that you can equip, which have different stats, and you level up over time and increase the stats that are relevant to the things that you level up. It's got a system that's similar to any magic system JRPG called psionics, where that if you are primarily somebody who uses your mind for combat, and that's
what you sit down and have a good think about this.
Absolutely, that's what my character is. Because if you play like a psionic soldier, they're mostly the support class, based on what I could tell. Like they have default like healing abilities and a lot of buff and debuff stuff. So not great raw attack power, at least at the start, but I always play kind of a support character anyways when I can. So that's what I picked, and
including real life.
I'm not very far into the story yet. Like I said, the tutorial portion took me nearly an hour to get through. Like it covers a lot of ground with this game, but it's got a system where you build and lose relationships with people, and it tells you like at the very beginning, like based on who you choose, it's like nothing will be different except your romance options based on which character you pick. So I don't know how much romance is going to be a part of this game. That's one of the tags on Steam, but honestly, half the time the tags aren't very helpful anyways.
What, you mean that people troll and put in the wrong tags?
Indeed they do. So, I mean, this looks like it's going to be a pretty fully fleshed out RPG. Like I said, you can get kind of an idea of what the map looks like, the different locations you can go to from the one of the images on the store page. The battle system seems pretty standard as far as, RPG stuff goes. There's different weapons with different elemental types and different armors with different elemental resistances. I mean, completely standard stuff. If you've ever played an RPG before, you get the gist of how this works. But I'm just getting into the story, and there's, there's some stuff in here that kind of takes the piss out of the sci-fi genre. And one of the main characters, at least I think is going to be one of the main characters, his title is the King of All Humans. And he's very like pompous and I just had a good chuckle at it. This feels very much like Starship Troopers. Like I'm getting some Starship Troopers vibes from it. I shouldn't say very much like it. I'm not far enough in to determine that. But I'm getting a lot of those.
But
sort
you're
of
wanting to know more.
I do want to know more. So I've been playing this game. I played this game at work yesterday. I didn't get a chance to play it today. This is gonna be, I think, a good game for me to play at work too. But yeah, it seems like it's off to a good start, but I'm still not far enough in to determine if the story's actually going to be good or not. But the gameplay mechanics are easy and simple and in-depth enough that I feel like there's more to this than just like a simple visual or kinetic novel. The writing seems to be pretty good so far. They've set up a couple of hooks for some stuff that I think is going to come into play later on about your character, and it's not like crazy outlandish stuff, but it seems like good storytelling. Just solid storytelling. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? This actually looks like a decent visual novel.
I know, right?
Are you ill?
I have good taste. I also just enjoy things that are in poor taste. But I do have good taste and enjoy good games.
Occasionally.
Yep. Occasionally. But yeah, that wraps it up for the games that I played this week. So, do we need a break, or are we ready to do the news?
What, we're actually going to do the news this week?
Yeah, we'll do some of this week, like a minute or two worth, then we'll move.
And also some of the news that we had on last week.
Indeed. So yeah, our first news story of the week, which also kind of is going to work in one from last week. Valve leaks its Steam game player counts.
And Ars Technica has the numbers.
Indeed, they do.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing because it's not just player numbers, it's total sales. And how they did this is actually pretty interesting. Some of the developers of particular games, I'm trying to find exactly how they did this. who did this, I should say, because the way that they were doing this was based on achievement percentages. And some of the percentages were obscenely precise. I mean, Mr. Spock level precision, all right? Where, I'm trying to find exactly who this was because I'm blanking on it. Actually, the Denied developer, well, one of them, Tyler Gabriel, was talking about the percentages based around achievements. For example, an achievement earned by 0.012782207690179348% of the player base would translate into exactly 8 players out of 62,587 without any rounding. So they were able to figure out, based on these percentages on different games' achievements through the Steam API, some actually fairly precise numbers on a lot of games. To the point where, as long as a game had an achievement and someone achieved it, they were able to figure out the player count on those achievements. Now, the limitation on this is the game had to have achievements, so Dota 2 is out immediately, and it only counted people that had installed the game and gotten one achievement. So this isn't total sales. That's very important to note. So, how do we want to handle this? Like the top 5 or 10 and then start picking out some oddballs?
Sure.
So
what are the top?
So top 1
few?
is Team Fortress 2 at an estimated player count of 50,191,347. And that's based off of installed and played enough to get one achievement, which for Team Fortress 2 is drop dead easy.
Yeah.
Then next up is Counter-Strike Global Offensive at 46,351,966.
No surprise on that, how big of an esports game it is.
Yeah. Then next one is also not a surprise. Do you want to take that one?
It is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds at 36,604,134.
Wonder how many of that is just in China.
36 million.
Okay, probably not that extreme, but yeah, the Chinese following for this game is absolutely absurd. To the point where it has an off peak whenever you look at the Steam charts and look at the player counts for PUBG versus everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that a good chunk of their player base is in China. Yeah, it makes me wonder how that's going to pan out for the long-term success of the game, because it has seen a downturn on its overall popularity just due to their unwillingness to work on bugs and actual features in the game and focusing more on, well, Jim Sterling called it dickbag monetization. Because they're basically chasing every single monetization scheme possible while being a paid game. And then next one is one that I didn't think that would be that high.
Yeah, Unturned, which, in case you're wondering what that is, like I was when I just read the title of this, it's a zombie survival game, like a
Minecraft.
Minecraft zombie survival game. It has 27,381,399 players.
Yeah, but not exactly surprising because free to play, and paid and with a bunch of shop items and marketplace stuff. So yeah, right there is going to be a big thing.
And fishing.
Hang on, installing. Actually, I installed this at one point, but never got around to playing it. So I have it in my library, but I don't count towards this because I don't think I got any of the achievements. No, I never played it. So
I've never installed this, but I'd be willing
I went to
it.
try it at one point. I'm not sure if I got review code for it or something, but I went to try it at some point. And let's see, Left 4 Dead 2 at 23 point. Well, let's just round at this point. 23.1 million. So another Valve game. Not exactly a surprise because that one also goes fairly cheap and it had a pretty big run for quite a while. I'm not sure what its actual player counts are these days.
Yep.
I'm quickly looking up.
Okay.
It's actually fairly popular. Today's peak 18,000 players. It's right between Slay the Spire and Dark Souls 3.
It's not too shabby given how old Left 4 Dead 2
Yeah,
is.
it's in the top, I want to say 25, top 30, without counting it off.
Nice. Next, Payday 2, 18.6 million players.
Yeah, we don't know anybody that plays that.
No, not a single person. Kyle. Friends.
Next one is not a surprise, outside of that it's sold that poorly. Because I expected this to be a lot higher. Gary's Mod at 18.5 million, which I'm counted on this one. Gary's Mod is a sandbox, basically do what you want game. And there's a lot of different game modes and stuff to do in it.
Next.
It's still also very popular, even though it's older. It's today's peak is 18,000 players. I mean, that's very good for such an old game.
Yeah. Next is another one that's not surprising that it's in the top 10. Warframe.
Oh, what's that?
16.3 million. Yeah, both of us would be counted in this one, even though I haven't played it in quite a while.
I played it today.
Achievements in it. What is the Warframe? 9? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, Warframe's number 8. Number 9, Counter-Strike Source at 15 million players.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close to exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's just at that 1,800 off of exactly 15 million, which not surprising on that one.
Yeah. And then rounding out the list of the top 10 anyway is Paladins at 14.3 million players.
Yeah, which going back to Counter-Strike Source, I wonder how many of Gary's Mod players bought Counter-Strike Source just for the models, because that's something I did at one point. Got it on the cheap. Still got an achievement or two in Counter-Strike Source, but right on the bubble, since it's right here. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is at 13.2 million, but this is just, I think, one version of it and not, the definitive edition as well.
Yeah. I wonder if Skyrim's on here twice.
Yes, it is. Special.
A little bit of Control F.
I already found it. Skyrim Special Edition, 4.3 million.
Okay.
So
combined, 17, 18 million, but I mean, they're listed, they're two different ID tags on Steam, so
it would put it in the middle.
Crazy.
Yeah, there was actually an article, I didn't put it on the docket because there wasn't a lot to talk about, but it was Todd Howard basically.
Where Todd Howard said, yeah, if you stop buying Skyrim, if you want us to stop putting it on in places.
I mean, he's not wrong, but it's kind of a dick statement.
Yeah. That's the top 11, I guess. And then you and I went through last night looking at some different stuff. BattleTech is on there. It's near the bottom at like 250 or 60,000 players. But still, I mean, a game that came out in April is on this. That made me happy.
Our Game Club game, Fallout New Vegas, is at 5.2 million.
Yep.
Which for an older game, that's not bad, but I wish it was higher.
Rocket League's at 10 million, so it's pretty close. It's in the top 20. I'm surprised GTA 5 has only got 12.6 million sold on or players on Steam.
Well, I wonder how many of those have double or triple dipped, and also a lot of Rockstar's revenue from that isn't from sales, but from the shark cards. But
sales of a different nature.
Yeah. Or also, you don't have to get it on Steam. You could get it through the Rockstar Social Club. But
yeah, which I did when I bought it because they had it like 50% off at one point. That was cheaper than it had ever been on Steam at the time.
But I think something also is a little bit telling here is that, by my quick count, I may have miscounted. I only see 18 games here that are above 10 million sold. That's a little surprising, honestly, especially with some of the deep discounts. Or
Yeah, 18.
Several of these are also free to play. Robocraft,
Paladins.
yeah, Paladins,
Unturned.
Warframe.
Payday 2 is free to play, right?
No.
No. I know you had to buy in at some point. Is the original Payday?
I don't think it's free to play. I'm pretty sure it's not.
Payday 2 is $10.
No. They had a free thing where they gave it away at one point.
Oh, okay. Because I knew that I got it for free.
That's why I was. That's why I was thrown off. It's like, no, it's not free. Is it? In Team Fortress 2, obviously, but it was also originally a paid game. But yeah, not a many 10 million sellers, which is a little surprising to me, just based on how deep some of the discounts on the Steam store goes. But Fallout 4 at 6.6 million, and it's between Arma 3 and Warface. Alien Swarm is also one that I'm shocked that's not higher up, because that's at 6.6 million, and that's a free-to-play game.
Yeah, I'm down here looking in like the million range, like seeing if I see anything that's surprising. Like I'm surprised it sold that many copies or that few copies, depending on what the title is.
Well, I'm in the 5 million range. Like Magicka is 4.9 million, Saints Row the Third 5.1 million.
Hey, Crypt of the Necrodancer 1.1 million. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see little indie darlings around there. Duck Game that's close enough. I'll call it 1.2 million.
Yeah, Duck Game is a weird one.
Hey, Divinity Original Sin. Oh, Classic 1.2 million. Wonder if the Enhanced Edition is there.
Yeah, I would count on both of them.
Divinity 2 is at 1.6 million.
That's actually not bad, because technically that's more of a niche game.
Yeah, Divinity Dragon Commander 265,000.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it for that because I would, because I got an achievement in it.
Enhanced Edition 1.5 million. Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition.
To the Moon, right at 1 million. Frozen Synapse also at 1 million. That's also a really good game. It's just amazing, some of these sales, some of these sale figures, which does tie into another article where Steam is wanting to do their own Steam Spy, but I'm leery on that, trusting it for two reasons. One, it's their own numbers and there's no outside verification. Yep. But also, Valve has a very bad tendency to pick up projects and then drop them.
Yep.
So it makes me wonder, first of all, would it be accurate? Or would they have the interest for it to be accurate? But second of all, would they keep up with it?
Yeah, I don't know how... I don't know what they would... Well, that's not true. I was going to say, I don't know why they would benefit from lying about their sale numbers, but then, I thought about that for a half a second and went, no, they absolutely could benefit from lying about sales numbers, or, player counts or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the incentive to do so based on their position would be lower than another company, which I'm not trying to defend them. Steam has fucked up plenty of shit, but I just feel like the incentive to lie about these numbers would be lower for them compared to other companies doing the same thing, just because of their position in the market. At least at this point, maybe if they start to slip as the number one, I could see them wanting to lie more to keep that up. But at least right now, I don't see why they would lie. And then on top of that, or in addition to that, with how frequently they drop projects, I would be very worried that they would drop this. They get halfway through it. I don't know how they'd get halfway through this, but somehow they'd find a way to get halfway through it and leave it unfinished.
Or not have it be particularly accurate just yet.
Yeah, and then never fix it to make it more accurate.
Yeah, here's another one. Toxic, 575,000. That was essentially a take on the old Unreal Tournament games that just completely fell flat. And, well, I found Evolve last night. 4.8 million disappointed players.
Nice. X3 Terran Conflict, 482,000 players. I assume Albion Prelude would be a subset of that, but it's not even cracked the top.
1,000 so.
Yeah. But X Reunion has got X Rebirth has got 343,000. That's another niche game I like to see up there. But yeah, I don't.
Battleborn, 492,000.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that. Or I brought that up last night.
Yeah,
I was like, where'd they all go? Away from here.
Can't blame them.
Hatred, 240,000. That's near the bottom.
Let's put it this way:
on the list.
Battleborn barely outstrips Card Mechanic Simulator 2018.
Nice. Oh, Iron Sky Invasion, 241,000. A great B movie type game that has really cheesy FMV in it and stuff like that.
Bayonetta, 424,000. Well, 425,000 essentially. That's actually a little surprising that it sold that well considering how late it launched.
Yeah.
Because
Owlboy, 251,000. Postal, 208,000. I'm just now I'm at the bottom.
Rebel Galaxy, 378,000. You did not like that game. I didn't think it was bad. I think it's all right. I think it suffers from having too much padding.
Yeah. Hatoful Boyfriend, 283,000. Yay.
Dark Souls Remastered, 348,000.
Woo.
And if you listen closely, I think you could hear Kyle typing. Which, hey, if you want to send in an email, vglpodcast@gmail.com.
So yeah, this is just a fascinating list to go. It's one of those things. It's just seeing the numbers and looking for games that you enjoy,
or even hate,
and seeing where they are and being happy or sad or mad,
or seeing just what they what's near them in sales, because there's some interesting things surrounding some good games and some bad games. Here, here's one that blows my fucking mind: CPU cores.
What?
CPU cores maximize your FPS on Steam games. Essentially, it's game tweaks that you could do yourself. It's a $15 program that supposedly is supposed to improve your FPS, but it just does Windows tweaks. But it sold 272,000 copies. Let's put it this way. It sold more than Batman the Telltale series.
Didn't sell as well as BattleTech, though. Yay.
I mean, it is such a ripoff. And it also, I think it's the same developer, also has one that's essentially supposed to be some sort of RAM dump, but it doesn't really do anything. Yeah. He also is going to sell Clear RAM, which
is sell better than Dirt 4. Big games that it outsold. It outsold DuckTales Remastered. Oh no. Owlboy.
Divinity Dragon Commander.
Outsold Hatred, so that's
actually
good.
Hang on, that's one. Tabletop Simulator, 2.3 million. I saw Tabletopia, which is essentially a free version of it, or not. No, I think it is free and it subsists on DLC. But I saw that and I thought, wait, Tabletopia is free and it has a bunch of DLC, but also I think it has a workshop support as well. Actually, no, it doesn't. I don't see. I don't see it. So
Yeah. Okay. I don't really know what else we can glean from
Yeah.
this aside from just continue to poke around and be like, oh, that's there.
Master of Orion, 243,000.
Yeah, that's one of those niche titles that's got like a big following for, in its own community. But I like BattleTech. BattleTech's the same way. A lot of games.
Battle Royale Trainer, 257,000.
Yeah, that's another one of the ones that we were like.
I wonder how many people bought that because of Jim Sterling.
Probably a few. A few.
And it's also a $5 game, but it's not one of those that just completely spams the achievements, but it looks like they're pretty easy to get. That's something that we need to do. Hit enter a lot of times. Okay, it looks like there's none that's the pure achievement spam, thankfully. At least that I can see on the list. Farming Simulator, 15, 916,000. I just happened to scroll up to it. Here's one more, all right. Duke Nukem Forever, 886,514. For as long as that was in development, that's a disappointment, huh?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, I was just wondering if any of the achievement spam games really took off, but it looks like none of it at least sold. The minimum to get on the list was 237,212, which is Soul Forge. But yeah, a very interesting list. Go on here and just find your favorites or find games that you love to hate. Evolve. And see what they sold and what they outdid and what outdid them. It's just fascinating, and I hope that the Valve Steam Spy actually, for one, actually releases, because that's another thing is Valve likes to start working on projects and just never get them to the point where they could actually be released as well. I mean, they talked about Spotify support on their music player in Steam. And talked about Pandora support, and that never came to fruition. And they've never even messed with the music player in Steam for ages. And for some people, I'm sure it's also news that there's a music player in Steam.
Yep, there is one. It's not very good. Not very good at all.
Yeah. I wish that they would actually support that, and what they could do is any game that you have music DLC for, it's able to download it independently of the game itself and add it to your library.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the irritating things about soundtracks on Steam is it has to be downloaded with the game, and if you move it out of the game, it'll re-download it if it has to check for a file, unless you disable it. And the fact that they have a music player, the Steam broadcast is another thing that they worked a lot on, had a big fanfare when it came out, and then nothing.
Yep.
That's why I'm leery of wanting to trust Valve. It's not so much to think that they lie. It's just that
they half-ass everything, just about.
Yeah, a matter of fact, can you even find without going into the community and start poking around the broadcast? Okay, I just want to see. Okay, the top broadcast is is a Realm Royale at 514 viewers. Then the second highest is some sort of that's kanji, so that's likely either Chinese or Japanese. AIM Lab broadcast at 36. And then it quickly drops down below 10. I mean, there's nobody watching this, and it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, isn't it? They don't want to put more development time into this system because there's no one watching it, but nobody's watching it, and it's not because it's not been developed enough. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, let's go talk about another interesting gaming thing that makes us go, what? Pokemon Go has brought in $1.8 billion since its launch.
Yeah, that's a with a B, Carcelian billion.
Yep, billion with a B.
It just blows my mind that, which also starts with a B, that it brought in that much money. But then again, it doesn't, because Pokemon, and people just go absolutely insane with Pokemon. I mean, it is the biggest entertainment property, period. Yeah.
Them Pokemans. Katie recently started playing it. When she went on her trip a few weeks ago to go visit her friends, they play Pokemon, and they would go.
Oh, they
go
infected
on,
her.
Pokemon walks. Yeah, and they infected her, and she brought it home, and she's now level 7. She's a higher level in Pokemon Go than me. That's probably the only video game she'll ever be a higher level than me in. And she's like, "You should download it, and we should go on Pokemon walks too." And so I downloaded it. We haven't done anything.
Question:
Sometimes, what?
Does it actually count as a video game, or a glorified pedometer still?
There's more gaming stuff to it, but not a lot. I mean, for Katie, it's definitely a video game. For me, it's a waste of time. But, we're two very different types of people when it comes to playing games. Katie's like the definition of a casual gamer. She plays a few games on her phone and enjoys like Mario Kart, and a few other games.
Cuphead.
Yeah, she likes Cuphead,
and being
which
bad
is
at
surprising. Oh, she's real bad at it. But that's okay. We have fun.
Yeah, I wish there was online play with Cuphead so we could play together.
Yeah, maybe
and
someday.
then we could be bad at it together.
But yeah, sometimes whenever we're out doing stuff, Katie's like, "Oh wait, stop, go over here." It's like, "Oh my god, your Pokemon will be fine. It'll be fine. You're wasting our time." She's like, "But I want to catch it. Gotta catch them." I'm like, "You gotta catch them all." She's like, "Yes."
Pokemon.
Catch them all. Back from the Nintendo Rock era of theme songs. Crazy over the top rock and roll. The 90s. But yeah. Yeah, Katie, I mean, she hasn't spent any money as far as I know. I don't think she will. She doesn't really spend money on stuff like that ever, but yeah,
oh
she
no,
plays
it sounds like she's in it deep.
Every few days she'll like go for a walk around the neighborhood and catch them Pokemans.
Yeah, considering how they very, very poorly handled this game. Just it took them ages to get basic features into it that they talked about at launch.
Yeah. Yeah, they just added trading and some kind of friend system. You can send each other gifts. And
yeah,
then, like,
don't you have to be
rare
physically
Pokemon or
next to
something.
one another, essentially? Or very close range?
Yeah, you have to be in the same space. I forget what the radius is, but it's pretty small. You have to be, in the same building as them, I would say. Or on the same network. Like if you're like connected to Wi-Fi or something.
I just remember they had this big conference, and they brought in all this mobile cell towers, and the entire network crashed.
Yeah.
As in their servers.
Last year, I think.
It just seems like every time I've heard about them, it's either them adding features that are very basic that should have been either in place at launch or within the first couple months afterwards, or just something utterly stupid. At least we haven't heard any people dying about with the game lately.
Yeah, not in a while.
Yeah.
Every time you launch it now, like, because I played it or tried it out when it first released, and this is one thing that I've noticed that's different. Every time you launch the game, there's warnings that Cobast, don't trespass. Pay attention to what you're doing if you're walking around. Be careful who you go with or meet. Like, there's a bunch of warnings every time you launch the game.
That's rather sad.
I mean, it's all just like covering their ass legally, I'm sure, but yeah.
But the fact that has to be there,
Yeah.
So, is this a case that maybe we're old?
Maybe I'm old.
Or maybe I'm not
Yeah, just the
hipster
wrong-
enough.
Yeah, just the wrong demographic. For sure.
What, a game about getting out and walking around, not marketed to a cripple?
Yeah, that or someone who plays real video games.
Ooh, shots fired.
Yeah. Take that, Pokemon Go.
I mean, if I wanted to
I
play
mean-
Pokemon, I'd play an actual Pokemon game.
Yeah. I've told Katie, I was like, there's other Pokemon games that are actually real games.
Maybe you shouldn't phrase it like that so she doesn't get defensive.
Yeah. We've talked about buying a Switch this year at Christmas or Black Friday or whatever.
Especially
when
once the Pokemon RPG comes out on that, right?
Yeah, well, there's one that's out now. It's the like re-release or remaster
the
of Yellow.
Pikachu Go, Eevee Go.
Yeah, which has the Pokemon Go system for catching Pokemon out in the wild, and then only has the traditional battle system for trainer battles. So I told her, I was like, that would be a good one to get you into the real games because it's got a hybrid of the Pokemon Go system. And she's like, okay, I guess I'd try it if we buy a Switch. I was like, we're getting a Switch. It's just a question of when.
I guess whenever you get it, you also have to get her the Pokeball controller. Or have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. And no, I'm good.
No, it's not for you. It's for her.
Yeah, that's true. It would be for her. She's real bad at catching Pokemon Go. You just have to like flick it, just flick the screen, and you hit them with a Pokeball, and you catch them. And she's got real bad aim.
Well, to be fair, I didn't have
though.
very good aim, but I also played it for about 5 minutes. So I didn't spend enough time on it to really do anything because I realized, okay, it wants me to go to the far side of town. That's 1.5 miles for a Poke Center. Nope.
Yeah. True. Yep, that's the Pokemans. I don't really have anything else to say about the Pokemans.
I mean, it's just, it's astonishing, but not astonishing that it's that high,
Yeah.
Part of me is a little shocked that it's that low, especially with it being a mobile game.
With how much money it's made?
Yeah, because mobile games are just money generators. There's a reason why EA put Command and Conquer on mobile instead of making it a real game.
Yeah.
Because that is going to make money hand over fist. And the fact that they defend it by saying, well, you don't know what you really want. Or, it's a mistake to think that you want this. Just be honest. This is going to make more money than God.
Yep.
Because it's a particular playstyle. It's the tug of war, Clash Royale-esque game. Granted, it's a different screen orientation, but it's the same basic game. And those make stupid amounts of money. Matter of fact, Google. I want to see what's the top earners right now. I imagine it's Pokemon Go, but probably Clash Royale is up there as well. Apps. Now I gotta find it on here because I haven't gone to the Play Store in a while. Top charts. Okay, there we go. Top grossing. That's actually one that I wasn't expecting. Okay, Pokemon Go. Then Dragon Ball Z, Dokkan Battle, which is a match 3 game. But it looks like it has some sort of gotcha mechanic. So, then Candy Crush, Marvel, Contest of Champions, and then Pandora Music actually. Tinder. I probably don't want to know what you pay for on Tinder. Slot Mania, Final Fantasy 15, Candy Crush again, a different version of it. Toon Blast, Clash of Clash of Clans is out of the top 10. That actually surprises me. I didn't realize it'd fallen not that far.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm surprised about that, because mobile games rise and fall all the time. And, at the top popularity.
Yeah, Clash Royale's actually dropped all the way to 30 on top earners. Or top grossing, I should say. So, I wonder what's going on with Clash Royale that's caused it to fall that far.
Just old.
Yeah, but Clash of Clans is the older one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's in the top. It's barely out of the top 10. So it makes me wonder if they screwed up something. But the fact that there's a slot machine game in the top 10 earners kind of tells something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, literally slots. I mean, at least get the loot boxes in here, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Moving on to our next news topic. This is one of the ones from last week, which we didn't wound up not covering in the show. Doki Doki Literature Club is blamed for a UK teen's suicide, and obviously, the UK. I've heard some developments about this in the last week, just from people.
Do you have any links for that?
Podcasts that I look at.
Or?
No, it's just stuff that was talked about on Podquisition, because Laura Dale went on some UK news program as like their gaming expert to discuss this. Boy. She actually said that it was really good. Like, all three guests that they brought on actually agreed that video games were an art form, because like they brought on her, they brought on like the counterpoint person, and also like a mom, and all three of them were actually.
Why
like,
is it?
What video games?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Whenever they have the expert panels, why do they always have one person that's, or I shouldn't say always, but occasionally have the one that's a mother? Congratulations, your uterus works. You're now an expert.
Yeah, you're not an expert on parenting because you have a child.
I mean, not
how it works.
I mean, not even someone from a parents group. They could be an advocate. It's literally a mother.
Yeah, it's now
I'm blanking on her name, but crazy anti-vax person, actor, actress.
Which one?
Actress corrupted Jim Carrey. Made him anti-vax. But her entire expertise is that her child developed autism, and not long after being vaccinated. Never mind the fact that usually when they start to detect that is when they start going through the vaccination process, right?
Yeah. Usually autism is not detected prior to 3 to 4 years of age, and you start getting vaccinated way before that if you're following proper vaccination
Jenny McCarthy?
timelines. Yeah,
okay.
That sounds right. Now that you say it, it sounds right, but I couldn't like pull it from the depths of my memory. It's getting late. My nap's wearing off, and I didn't drink any coffee on purpose, so I wouldn't have any trouble going to bed tonight.
Her entire expertise of being anti-vax is that her child has autism.
Yep, which is not a qualifier for an expert of anything.
Except taking care of a child with autism.
Indeed.
In theory.
In theory. But so anyways, all three of them were like, yeah, video games are art. They did their due diligence with putting warnings before the game. It's very tragic that this kid committed suicide, but you can't just blame this game. The parents have to take some of the blame because they weren't effectively paying attention to what their kids were doing. And they didn't have anything up there about other factors, which could be. But turned out it was an actual productive discussion on a mainstream news channel in the UK. So who knew?
Yeah,
those things exist.
Yeah, and supposedly the son had several facts about the game completely wrong as well. What's surprised that they're sensationalists.
Yeah.
Talking about the game texting him at one point, which is bullshit.
It doesn't do that. The game tells you to go modify some files, but that's part of the game. It's not like you're actually it just tells you to delete a few things and change some stuff, which plays into the way that the story plays out. But it's like, you know, it's not texting you.
I mean, it's a horror game. I mean, it's
yeah, and it makes it very clear at the beginning that it is like there are disturbing things in this game. It tells you right up front. Like you get several warnings. So
yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, this is just one of those things where that people are looking for something to blame, and I get it. Like I get it. You know, your kid is gone. You're grieving. You don't know where to put it. There's this thing that you don't understand. So that must be the thing that that pushed your kid over the edge. And honestly, it might have been a thing that contributed to pushing the kid over the edge. Like I'm not saying that the media that we consume, video games included, has an effect on us. But one thing is not going to cause someone to take their own life or take the life of another person. It's usually other things that all build up. And sure, like there is a chance that Doki Doki Literature Club could have been the sort of tipping point for this kid. Like the disturbing imagery could have triggered some sort of episode for him, which made him suicidal, so he took his own life. But it wasn't the game's fault that did it. And parents just
are trying to understand.
To be aware that parents have to try and understand what their kids are into. As a parent, think my kid's only 4 at this point, but I have had to go and understand like what are kids shows, what are good kid, like, because there's good and bad kids TV out there. I try to not let my kid watch garbage television.
Basically a babysitter, right?
Yeah, I don't want TV to be a babysitter for my kid. And I don't want my kid to watch things that aren't appropriate for his age range. And that goes both ways. I don't want him to watch TV shows for babies, because at this point that could actually retard his development. Because you spend too much time on things that are below his level of understanding at this point. And while the brain is developing, that can slow it down if you don't continue to move forward with the education process. And TV in general is not like, there's a lot of evidence and research that's been put into like Baby Einstein and stuff like that, and how that it's not actually as effective as people think it is. And that goes for all kids television. Parents have to be involved. You have to know what your kids are into. You have to do the best that you can to give them the least garbage amount of content possible, and you have to know what's appropriate for your kid. And the rating system in general helps, but kids are different and develop differently and are affected differently by things. So, and I mean, yes, kids are always going to find ways to get into things that you don't want them to. I'm not trying to say that you lock down your kid completely, but if you're more engaged as a parent, this sort of thing is less likely to happen in general. So, yeah, the game is not to be blamed. It gives you all those warnings up front, and it's a really interesting, in-depth look at suicide and some other things when appropriately interacted with by the right audience, a mature enough audience to do so. So, yep. Do you have any? I always ask you. Do you have any questions? Do you want me to
not really.
explain something a little
I
farther?
think a lot of this is just sensationalist media trying to really paint video games as bad, and a fair amount of this is either misleading or trying to just stir up controversy because that sells newspapers.
Yeah,
I mean the headline for The Sun, which is essentially a rag in the UK, is "Kid Killer Inside Twisted Doki Doki Literature Club Game," which parents said calls suicide, and they put suicide in quotes, by the way, like suicide of their children, and it's horrifyingly easy to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So a lot of this was just stirred up by them either through malice or just not fact checking their article.
Yeah,
and running with it. but it is a sad thing overall that this happened. I mean, I'm not, saying that it's all on the son for running this article because, there is a death in this. But at the same time, it's the parents trying to understand the, something that happened that it's just unimaginable. The grief of a parent.
Yeah.
And trying to find something to blame when sometimes, this is probably going to sound callous, but, things happen.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. Sometimes life happens. Sometimes bad things happen. And there's nothing we can do about it except just pick up the pieces and do the best we can. And like I said before, I totally get it. I totally get wanting to put the blame somewhere, wanting to put those feelings somewhere. I deal with it all the time with people in my career. So I understand it, and then I understand why the media latches onto it, but it's just that's not the way that it actually is.
So shall we move on to a much lighter topic? Oh wait.
Yeah, and another one of my topic. Psychologists and scholars condemn the WHO classifying gaming disorder as addiction. So this one, I think I made some of these points when I talked about this the first time. But what this is going into is there are a group of, this group of people who are speaking out against the WHO listing gaming addiction as an official diagnosis. Or gaming disorder as an official diagnosis in the ICD codes. And they have some valid points, saying like, well, basically you could say you're addicted to anything, but we don't have addiction diagnoses for everything. Or
why not cat addiction? That's in this, by the way, which, we've seen the crazy cat lady, so.
Yeah. They say that, okay, so I'm just gonna work my way down from what they have with, counterpoints.
Yeah, the different bullet points.
Their first bullet point is they say 30 years of research has not clearly defined what constitutes video game addiction. There's actually 3 things tied to research. Research doesn't indicate if the disorder is not just a symptom of other mental health issues, and that research just had poor transparency. On that third point, poor transparency, I have no idea. I haven't reviewed all of the research. I have done a fair amount of research for into gaming related disorders myself. That was what I did my master's thesis on. Video, the psychology of video games, which included addiction and things like that. Based on what I've researched, I haven't seen any lack of transparency. There's solid research out there and shitty research out there for a lot of things. So I'm not sure how valid this one is. And it's difficult to check a lot of the research because a lot of these journals and things you have to pay a subscription to. And the reason I was able to do all the research, because at the time when I was in college, I had access to all of these journals through my university.
Yeah, and I imagine the journals aren't cheap.
No, they are not cheap. So, I can't really speak to that one. That could potentially be a valid point, but I mean, I have seen good research out there on it too. So my hands are kind of, I don't know on that one. The first one, research of nearly 30 years. Like, there's stuff that gets researched for decades all the time, so this could potentially be a valid point, but also it's kind of a non-point. Research for things goes on for decades and decades and decades. We're still doing research on some experiments that were conducted in the 50s and 60s, trying to revalidate them and see just as better research methods and techniques and technology have been developed, just seeing if we can replicate the results to validate them. So that one's, again, kind of a non-point. The one in the middle, though, indicating that the disorder's maybe not just another symptom of other mental health issues. Possibly, but my response to that is that you have to sort of walk that line with every addiction disorder, even alcohol and drugs. Lots of times they are a symptom or what's known as a maladaptive coping mechanism to deal with, depression or anxiety or PTSD or whatever. It's like, a lot of people, for example, a pretty common one is like, I can't sleep because of the nightmares I have, so I drink to sleep. And, without the proper context, you could just say, oh, that person's an alcoholic. They drink, every night until they pass out. But really, that's a symptom of, some sort of trauma, PTSD, or anxiety-related disorder. So, on the one hand, sure. But on the other hand, it's one of those things like the clinicians and the people who are doing the diagnosing have to do what's called differential diagnosis and figure out, is this a symptom of another problem or is it the problem itself? So we have these other addiction disorders for when those are the problem. And I would say that, just like somebody could be an alcoholic or a drug addict, someone could potentially be a gaming addict. And it's just a problem as opposed to being a symptom. So I think that sort of validates that response that they have to it. Treating behavior. So the next bullet point, treating behavior as though it's similar to substance abuse is a poor place to start, which can offer bias to the result. Again, I think I just answered or, rebutted this one with my previous statement. Like, sure, maybe, but it's our job as clinicians, psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists, doctors to some extent, to do the differential diagnosis and figure out, is this a problem or is this a symptom of another problem? Next bullet point, research suggests the addiction is unstable. Most of those with high symptoms at one point in time being resolved several months later with no treatment. You can see that with other addictions. It's less likely with drugs and alcohol, but sometimes people's addictions resolve themselves, or they resolve themselves to fix their addiction. Again, that goes to diagnosing, or sorting it out and figuring out why, maybe there was something else that was going on in their life that was causing them to behave or, to act like they were addicted, and that area of their life is now resolved and it's not a problem anymore. And you see that with drugs and alcohol and gambling addiction, sex addiction. Like sometimes it happens. That's their coping mechanism, and that behavior raises until a stressor is gone. See, next bullet point, they propose that individuals that overdo gaming are no different than individuals who overdo sex, food work, exercise, etc. This is the whole, anything could be an addiction. And that's true. And when diagnosing, we actually have codes to indicate addictive behavior to things other than drugs or alcohol. And, video games currently are included in that code. Personally, I don't see a problem with having a specific video game related disorder to put, as opposed to the more general one that basically says this person is exhibiting addictive tendencies to something other than drugs or alcohol. Sex, there's specifiers for those. But that comes down to, back to what I was saying before, do you want it more specific or not? And I'm a big fan of having specificity, but I could see someone's argument for this, like, this falls into a much more general sort of thing. It doesn't affect the brain the same way that drugs and alcohol do. A little bit closer to gambling, and then sex addiction also is its own animal.
Do you think this is just you like this being in there because of how you see your patients, and you want to be able to look at the chart and be able to read it a lot easier?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a big part of it. I make this argument all the time to the people that I work with in the clinic, that sometimes I'm having to read their charts or whatever, and it makes it really difficult whenever they just put either a ton of things that aren't very specific, or broad categories of disorders with no specifiers on them.
So bitch be crazy, it shouldn't be on the chart.
Yeah, that should not be on the chart in the comment section next to one of the diagnoses. But there are there's a category for every diagnosis that's whatever unspecified presentation. Well, thanks, that's not helpful at all. You're basically just saying they're suffering from, major depression or major depressive disorder, severe, unspecified presentation. Okay, so they're sad a lot, is what you're saying. That doesn't tell me anything about symptomology. That doesn't tell me, like, for example, are they having psychotic features? Or is this a repetitive episode? Is this a one-time thing that they've been experiencing? Are you using that to, for what should be adjustment disorder, which means that, basically something really bad happened and they're feeling depressed because of it. They don't meet the other criteria for, like, major depressive disorder or something. Like, being as specific as possible is really helpful whenever you have 5 minutes to look over a chart before you're meeting someone for the first time. So I like the idea of it being in there as a way to specify what their addiction is. Because you can just put on someone's chart, for example, there's a code for addictive behavior. Okay? Addictive behavior to what? Everything? A specific thing? And you can go and write comments in, but very rarely do people, at least in my experience, go in and write comments on stuff. I do whenever I have to use something a little more specific. But
you mean
not
general?
everybody does.
Like addictive?
What?
Well, you said specific, so I was just wanting clarification. Like, whenever you have addictive behavior, you write in then, not just if it was gambling disorder, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So like someone has addictive, like if someone has an addictive personality, there's not really a code for that. It's just sort of, shorthand for saying, like, I easily become addicted to things.
I'm addicted to being addicted.
So, you could put.
I was just wanting a little clarification on that. And proving that I'm listening.
Indeed. Anyways, the next bullet point, the WHO's obsessive focus in response to moral panic. I'm not quite sure where the moral panic is. Maybe something that I'm not seeing in Europe because I don't have, an ear to the ground.
Or maybe they're referring to other things.
Yeah, I feel like the main moral panic for video games happened in the 90s all the way up to the early 2000s. But at this point, so many people who have grown up with video games are now adults who have at least some basic knowledge of it, and in general don't give a shit about more standard forms of media, just as the world has, changed and things have changed. So I don't see where the moral panic is to this, but, that is something that it could be very subjective, and I'm not going to just say that, write that one off completely. Maybe they have some sort of experience that I don't have because of a difference in age or where they live or something like that. Concerned that little or to no further research will be done is the next bullet point. I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. As far as I know, we constantly and continually are researching, like, everything all the time. I listen to a couple of psychology podcasts. I am on a couple of psychology related subreddits. I follow a lot of. I'm a member of the AAMFT, which is the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapists, and they have things that they post about research that they're doing, and that like, there's all kinds of stuff we're still researching depression and anxiety and how it affects people, and we've known that those have existed for hundreds of years, even before psychology was a thing. So I just don't see that being a problem. The next bullet point, those who enjoy the habit healthily will receive scrutiny for their hobby. I mean, we already do, for one. And number two, like, there's always people who are going to scrutinize people's hobbies when they don't agree with them. Like, most people who, in my personal experience, most people who are the more outdoorsy type criticize people who enjoy video games, movies, books. I know I've criticized people.
Oh, look, we got a reader here.
I've criticized people for their hobbies too. Like, I try not to do that now, but I have in the past. And I'm human. I probably still sometimes will. Like, I feel like this is a non-argument because lots of people are going to criticize people for their hobbies no matter how healthily they pursue them, either because they don't understand or perceived cultural bias against that particular hobby. So that doesn't really seem like much of an argument to me. And then the final point, diagnoses may even be used to control and restrict children under the guise of helping them. This one is the most concerning one to me, where I see the most valid point. Just because, number one, misdiagnoses can lead to people, it's more rare, but can lead to people winding up in these circumstances where they are not getting the help that they need. People who are misdiagnosed with addiction sometimes wind up in, rehab facilities or really strict programs when addiction is not their problem. They're not receiving treatment for their primary problem. That's more rare, but it still happens. The biggest danger here is that you see these fringe groups will start using this to set up, video game rehab centers or whatever programs, which they make mention of in the paragraph expanding upon just the bullet point that I read. And that could be a problem. But those already existed, and things like that will always exist in in a society where we have people who take things to the extreme. And I think that's human nature in a lot of ways. So I don't really know how to get rid of these things. I'm not aware if there were like movie addiction type treatments or anything in the past. Like, I suspect if there were, they were presented as some kind of like church thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a religious thing, just because psychology was not the field that it is today back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, when I suspect there would have been the most likely opportunities for that to happen. But you see church groups and typically ultra conservative groups of any sort put up like these type of camps and things, camps, rehab centers, whatever you want to call them. So I mean, that is a concern, and this would give them more ammunition. But everything that you do has pros and cons, and I'm willing to accept the cons in favor of how useful the specificity of this diagnosis can be, and just continue to raise awareness and education among people in the profession. At least now, my industry is dominated by older people who have been there for a while, and people who typically still are less inclined to be gamers. Two factors to that, and I swear I'm not being sexist, but my industry is primarily dominated by women at this point. And while there are rising numbers of women playing video games, the people who are entering the field now and for the last decade still come from a generation where gaming was less targeted towards women. People who grew up with me in the 90s and the early 2000s, gaming was, video games were something for boys. That's how they were marketed and advertised. So there's still a generation of probably 75% of the people coming into the field are female, which means they're less likely to have experience with video games. So having the specificity of the diagnosis would help them have to educate themselves on video games and
in video game logic.
Yes, and video game logic and how they affect people. So I think the benefits outweigh the negatives at this point. And by the time it's not an issue, it'll just be one of those things that people understand more openly and more normally, and then it's just a diagnosis that exists that when occasionally you need it, you've got it. And I mean, there could be cause to take it out one day too. There have been diagnoses that have been removed or changed over the years, as our understanding grows or our culture changes. So I just don't see enough of a problem with putting it in to raise a big stink about
putting it in.
About putting it in. Yeah. So there we go. That was two Jared psychology segments in a row.
Yeah, maybe we should have planned this out a little bit better so your throat isn't absolutely torn to pieces.
It's okay. I'm doing okay right now. My throat was a little sore when we started anyways.
Just what were you doing with your throat?
I don't know. I woke up from my nap. My throat was sore.
I'm not saying it was aliens, but it's aliens.
Aliens. Yeah.
Oh, no, wait. That would be the other end. That would be sore.
So yeah, that was our last news topic. Unless you have any questions or comments,
not
or
really. I mean, this is really your field of expertise. Well, not really. It is.
It's literally my field of expertise. I went to school for nearly a decade for this shit.
Yeah. Turns out, that degree is finally paying off.
Woo!
Well, good thing you didn't go to MIT. Otherwise, you'd just be qualified to push a button.
I know. Yeah,
and
my
stand
2
there
degrees. My 2 degrees and multiple certifications finally pays off. Still working on getting that license though.
Then you can finally drive.
Yeah, soon I'll be licensed to talk about this shit. I have enough training and education and experience, though, to qualify as an expert witness in a court case, if that has any bearing or meaning to anyone's opinion on what I have to say.
Also, you could legally say in a court of law that bitch be crazy.
Yeah. I can do that. I shouldn't do that, but I could.
Now, Mr. Author, is that your professional diagnosis, or
bitch be cray? Well, yes, that is my official diagnosis. Do you have to ask? I put that in as other and then wrote it in the comment box. Oh. So, moving on.
Yeah, real quick, we don't really have anything for the community corner because we don't have anything for the community corner. So if you wish to fill out the community corner, even though we probably should have done a question now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Next week if we don't have anything, but if you wish to make it so it's not just a your listener question or viewer question, depending on where you are, bglpodcast@gmail.com or bglpodcast on the Twitter. And when we hit the theme song, I'm going to go jump in the elevator real quick.
All right, sounds good.
So elevator music, then the theme song for a little bit of doobly-doo with the Discovery Queue.
All right. Well, that doobly-doo has been running for the Discovery Queue while we went on our break, so ready to dive in, see what we can come up with?
Yeah, and I'm already on mine, and I got an interesting one. And that's usually good enough for me to stop. Agony. Its big marketing thing was tits.
Yay, tits.
Supposedly, it's a first-person survival horror set in hell. And there was a little bit of backlash to this because they originally was going to be completely uncensored. Then they decided to censor some portion of one of the endings. And supposedly it's not very good. It has mixed on Steam, and that's usually a bad sign whenever it's mixed,
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely for a certain audience. Let's see. They were originally going to have a patch to make the game completely uncensored, but they also canceled that, which also pissed some people off. It just, honestly, it doesn't look like my game. I'm sure that there's someone out there that, it's for, but just not for me.
Yeah.
But
right now to look at it. Oh, this game. I've heard nothing but bad things about this game. I'm not sure why it has mixed reviews. Because everything I've heard from everybody says that it's just way excessive and over the top, and it doesn't use any of its nudity or anything properly. It's just there for its sake, Which, yeah. I like my tits in games, but if you're gonna do like weird vagina monsters,
yeah, didn't Yahtzee say that all the doors are vaginas in this game?
Might have been Yahtzee. It also might have been Jim Sterling. He's had.
Well, I remember. Well, I remember being on Zero Punctuation, I think.
Okay, maybe it was. I'm not sure.
That's the only reason why I go to the Escapists nowadays. Granted, that's about all the content they have on the Escapists, so.
Yeah, I just watch them on Yahtzee's YouTube channel.
Well,
they're like a week or two.
Well, that's not
behind,
Yahtzee's YouTube channel. That's the Escapist.
Well, then I watch them on the Escapist YouTube
You know what? They may as well give the keys to the kingdom to Yahtzee. He's the battle royale winner. He's the one that survived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this doesn't look like a game that I would enjoy in general. Like, it's kind of weird horror game, and I don't do horror games. I don't really do horror anything.
Yeah, I prefer my horror being psychological, not gore based. But go on. What's yours? I see you have one on the list.
Oh yeah, Garrison Archangel. It's a PvP multiplayer mecha fighting game. And, you know, I like mechs and mecha.
I think I saw this on Keymailer.
I've played a game like this before I think the arcade.
Yeah, I think
oh god, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think I put in for a review code on this because it's multiplayer focused, and that tends to be either it takes off really well or nobody ever plays it.
Yeah, if it's in early access right now, so if it winds up having any single player component besides just like fighting the AI, I'd go for it. You know, even if it was just like some sort of like tournament system or whatever, it's like, oh, be the champion, and it just plays that over top of the battle system. As long as it's a good game, I'd be down for that.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was on Keymailer though.
I'm pretty sure I saw it. If not, then I saw something very similar to it.
Yeah, I'll play anything if I get it for free. Why not?
Yeah, I got one that isn't even available for sale yet and doesn't have the price or even a release date on it. So I had to go looking for it a little bit. Sinner Sacrifice for Redemption. It seems like I'm getting a theme here going. This is, according to this, an action RPG boss battler. So either Dark Souls-esque, but I'm going to say almost, now I'm blanking on the name. We did it, Game Club, and we hated it.
What game did we hate?
PlayStation 2 game. Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, I blanked on the name for a second, even though the something similar to that, only it doesn't look like it's nearly the scale, but it's all based around fighting individual bosses. But supposedly each boss weakens you. So you start off with your strongest, and it progressively levels you down.
I've seen a few games like that.
Interesting. Not quite abilities, though, where you start off with all your abilities and then it strips you and you regain them. It's interesting. It doesn't look like it's going to be on sale anytime soon. I'm not sure when the release date is for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no release date on this at all, but interesting.
Yeah. So I got another one, just based on you talking about or having Tex Murphy as one of your games earlier. This is an FMV detective game called Visitor. Not really a ton about it aside from you're trying to solve a murder case.
Looks like it's either Chinese or Japanese, just based on once again the kanji in it.
Yeah. So
I'm sure that there's an easy way to be able to differentiate the two, but I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't either. It looks like it's got a little bit of her story in it as well, just based on some of like the HUD elements and like just watching the quick little trailer. So maybe inspired by her story, doing a full FMV game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, looks neato.
Yeah, okay.
Neato burrito.
I got one that breaks my theme.
Okay.
And I'm scroll down. So, Nova Flow, first-person platformer, which is usually a bad sign, because first-person precision platforming it can be very difficult. But it's given me this similar to Portal, as an original Portal. And watching the trailer for this, it's interesting. It looks like you're based around some sort of, I don't want to call it a portal gun, but some sort of gun-based first-person platforming, which is interesting. It looks like it's also based around, not quite speedrunning, but some sort of rhythm-based platforming, which could work for first-person if it's more based on doing the rhythm properly instead of precision platforming. It looks like it's some sort of switching colors just based on the trailer. It's fairly cheap though, $7. So 40 levels, speedrun mode. Yeah, first person speedrunning platformer built upon finding a balance in the rhythm of mechanics of the game. So yeah, a more rhythm based first person platformer, which is an interesting mechanic.
Yeah. Okay. I also got something that's interesting in first person, or looks interesting. Eximius Sees the Front Line.
Oh dear God!
This is an FPS RTS hybrid, where that you can swap back and forth between like a commander tactical view and a first person shooter view. I've seen a few games like this in the past. I've played a couple and have enjoyed them. And I always like stuff like this that like lets you swap between two completely different gameplay styles. I just find it fun and interesting. So hopefully it's a good game. It's not even out yet. It's releasing in September. Releasing into early access in September. So, no clue on whether or not it's going to be any good or not. But I like concepts like this, and it doesn't. The screenshots don't make it look half bad, which, yes, I know you can't necessarily trust all of that stuff, but it at least is taking the time to make itself look decent. And compared to a lot of the shit that shows up on Steam nowadays, that gives it a few points.
Yeah, something that looks at least halfway decent, is already above the bar, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm at the...
it looks like they gave a shit.
Yeah, I'm at the end of my queue.
This is the last game in my queue as well, so all done.
I skipped a horse game because it looked too horrendous.
Was it the horse MMO?
I don't think so.
Or like the horse farm MMO?
It was some sort of horse riding simulator, and for some reason it was giving me to that because I had F1. Racing, two versions of it.
Was it My Riding Stables, Life with Horses?
Yes.
Yeah, that's... Okay, it's not an MMO. I saw that when I did one of the discovery queues for trading cards.
It was too horrendous. No. It looked bad. It looked bad.
It looks real bad, but...
Even for a horse game.
I put it on my wish list.
Of course you did. You got to start rebuilding your numbers, right?
I got to I got to get those like 300 games back. I still am not done going through and taking stuff off of my wish list. That's an undertaking that's going to take months, if not years.
Now, here's the question: what's going to take longer? You cleaning your wish list, or me actually sorting my library?
We'll see.
Because I start it and then I just fall off of it. Then a couple weeks go by.
Yeah. I need to finish sorting my library again. Like, I sorted it once all the way before, and then I bought games and gotten bundles and gotten stuff from Keymailer and haven't properly sorted it. So I've got probably 50 or 60 games I need to sort right now. But I mean, I've had hundreds down there in the list that need to be sorted, and it took me months to go through and do that. Just a little bit here and there. So that's what I'm doing with my wish list, though. Going through here and there every so often. A couple games here, a couple games there. Review and remove. And then remember to mark as not interested so it doesn't show up in the discovery queue. I had whole discovery queues during the Steam sale, and I was like, I removed all these games from my wish list. And just, I guess, forgot to mark them as not interested, or maybe there was like an error with my connection or something, and I just didn't catch it when it was like, you probably try again later to do this thing.
You probably didn't think it was important to not to mark it as not interesting until it started popping up again.
Yeah. I just didn't think about it at first.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But, I mean, of course, they're no longer on my wish list, so they're going to show up again at some point in the Discovery queue.
Oh, but that's hilarious. You removed this from your wish list. Do you want to add this to your wish list?
Do you want to put it back? No.
Are you sure?
God, you can decorate your horses to look like a unicorn. I didn't even notice that. Bye. Right now. Bye.
Bye.
No. Bye now.
No, no, wait. We still have to do the interwebs.
Indeed. So welcome to the portion of the podcast where I go first on all of our little lists of things. If you want to find me on the YouTube, you can do so by searching for Psychologist, where I post random things when I have time to work on them that make me happy.
I guess this really tells you just how much content you're putting out right now.
Indeed. And when we get co-op stuff prepared, it goes up. I mean, it's mostly just the podcast, and whenever we do co-op stuff at this point. I got to a point where I just do things that make me happy. And if I'm interested in doing something and it makes me happy to do it, then I'll do it and put it out. Otherwise, I just stick to the podcast and what we do. But those things make me happy. The podcast and our co-op stuff that we do makes me happy. So let's go up on my channel. Twitch, though.
Does that make you happy?
Twitch.tv/jarthur4707. And there's a chance that we're live on Twitch right now. Not live, but using the Twitch Premiere system, where I regularly post and upload the videos, and the previous week's video plays live on Tuesday night while we record.
Wait.
Yeah, we're not live right
now.
now.
Does that mean we're dead?
We're dead.
Or we're the undead Kerbal-cast?
Yes, we're Zombie Kerbal-cast. I forgot to. It's uploaded. I forgot to set it live because I took my nap when I got home today instead of setting it up, which is what I usually do before we have dinner and I hang out with my kid and stuff. But I actually wound up taking a nap today. I'm not gonna go into the whole reasons on the podcast. I already told you about it.
Oh my!
But yeah, so I forgot to set it up today, but I'll do it tomorrow. I'll put it up tomorrow. And if you're listening to this on Twitch, hello. Leave a comment, interact in the chat if there's anybody there.
Yeah,
even if there's not.
Yeah, maybe we should be pulling stuff from the chat there.
Should go see if there's anything that showed up in the chat there. Because I usually just do it, fire it, forget it, and then don't go back and check on it unless somebody I get a message and need to respond to it. But if you want to follow me on Twitter and see all of the things that I tweet about, you can do so by following at JMA4707 on Twitter. I was talking about being manly this weekend. I fixed my toilet, did a bunch of yard work.
What did you do to your toilet?
Out.
No, wait. I changed my mind. I don't want to know.
I fixed it. I felt very manly. Although, to be honest, I like the days when I had a landlord more. I'd just call them and be like, hey, this thing broke. Fix it.
Get Jimbo
instead of
in.
having to fix it myself.
That's actually the name of the maintenance guy here, Jimbo.
Nice. My old maintenance man at my old apartment, his name was Jim, too.
No, but maybe it's a
lot of Jims in the world.
Maybe it's a guild of some sort. Wait, does that mean I have to join? Never mind.
Yes, you have to become a maintenance man. Yeah, so that's what I was tweeting about this weekend. And I tweeted about what was it today? How did it go? Penis sleeves? Although that wasn't something I directly tweeted, I was replying to someone, but yeah, the phrase penis sleeve was mentioned several times by me on Twitter today in response to a friend of mine who that's basically how we communicate with each other is via Twitter.
I was going to say via penis sleeves?
Yeah.
And here, I was expecting that to be a Trump related thing.
Nope, it wasn't. It was just a thing that came up. Having to do with something that, so she's trans and refers to herself as an ex-Christian, and how people that she used to know and be friends with and stuff who still are Christian are attacking her and trying to get her to repent from her sinful ways and go back to being a man and things. And there was forget exactly how she described it, but a book that they kept trying to get her to read, and I was like, on the one hand, I want to know more about this, like this group and this book, but on the other hand, I feel like I would just waste my time. And like she summarized the whole thing in a single tweet. I was like, they basically call women penis sleeves. I was like, great. I'm now integrating that into my vocabulary for forever. And so I posted several tweets about penis sleeves, and I had some downtime at work, and I like was putting things in my mouth and saying penis sleeves with penis shaped things in my mouth. I was having a grand old time.
So you
in
were
my
doing
office
your
today.
Trump impersonation.
Yeah, something like
now
that.
I'm blanking on who called him Vladimir Putin's cockholster.
I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm very happy that that's a thing. So yeah, that's Twitter. All of that to say at JMA47. This is 4707 on Twitter. Because, yeah. Also, if you want to be my friend on Steam, my username is JArthur4707.
For some reason at this point.
From people on Steam, and love to chat with you when we get a chance. Whenever you see me online. If you see me online and it's the middle of the workday, maybe I'm just sitting there doing some paperwork and wouldn't mind a quick message from someone. Feel free to chat me up.
And of course, the password for this week has to be penis sleeve.
Yeah, it does.
I had something else picked out, but no, we can't have anything but penis sleeve at this point.
Yep. If you're listening today, thanks, Wilkie, for that.
You know, anyone that gets a hold of the password list at this point is probably like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that would have been their response before now, but that's definitely like double down on the what the fuck now.
Well, especially the last three. I mean, we have kiddo, ketchup, and penis sleeve.
Kiddo, ketchup, penis sleeve. Ketchup with penis sleeve.
I'm pretty sure that's a rap lyric.
Yes, which I will not attempt to perform for everyone's mental health. I will not perform that rap.
And I'm very thankful for that.
Indeed. So what about you, buddy? What's going on with your interwebs?
Well, I didn't get everything going that I wanted to. I have Rage, the first episode of it recorded, but I was just got tired. And I have to say, going through the first part of that game with all my launch options actually in place now, it's a lot easier whenever it doesn't have massive mouse acceleration. The beginning of the game, I was really struggling because whenever you go into a game with mouse acceleration, it's, you know, you can feel it, but you can't feel the degree of it until you've actually played the game for a bit.
Yeah.
So I was, firing wildly in my, playtesting just to make sure the game was working. Which for Rage, working is a relative term because, that's a horrendous port. But going through it again with the mouse acceleration disabled, I was headshotting things like left and right with a pistol and just killing them in 2 or 3 shots. And it has that, things are bullet spongy enough where, shooting someone in the back of the head doesn't kill them outright. So there was this moment of, there's this mutant just sitting there, doing what mutants do. Shoot him in the back of the head, and he turns around, what? Like that's some sort of greeting form. But yeah, should be out by the time the podcast comes out. The first episode's already recorded. I just had to do my thumbnails and everything, and I got it done Sunday night, but wasn't able to upload it till early morning on Monday. So just the timing was off to be able to get it going yesterday. Didn't get that done. It happens. RimWorld did happen though. That's recorded, and we actually, since we spoke of Jim showed up in the RimWorld, and it turns out he's abrasive.
All right.
I love it when things kind of line up. I don't think that's being mean saying that Jim could be abrasive, right?
He can be.
I just got a good giggle out of it, you know?
I've always liked Jim, but he's grown on me a lot since we've been playing Star Wars RPG together. Although Jim can be quite pervy. So, surprising even me. During Star Wars RPG night, I tend to not be pervy. Because I get into character. But Jim, like...
Or is his character...
Too,
or is his character the perv?
Good question. Why not both?
But yeah, RimWorld's still ongoing. Actually hit episode 50, the day the podcast comes out. So, yeah. A lot of RimWorld. Actually, it's kind of funny. I had someone from my Ghostbusters Let's Play subscribe. And then, RimWorld 49 comes out, and I see unsubscribe. So I'm imagining it's the same person. Or at least I like to think it, like, oh, this person plays games. Oh shit, RimWorld 49? No. But yeah. And Spintire's Mud Runner, we're building up the episodes. We would have had 2 recorded this week, but we ended up just sitting and gossiping.
Yeah, we spent over an hour. Did we make it to 2 hours just talking before we were like, we should probably record something?
Yeah, maybe we should start recording, then just sit and gossip. And have some sort of actual content in that, instead of nearly flipping our trucks, or you, in your case, actually flipping a truck that I thought was pretty much impossible to flip over. You found a way.
Nope. I flipped it right over. No problem.
But you didn't stick the landing.
I did not stick. I did stick the landing. It was just on, the side instead of the tires. Although, like I told you last night, I'd rather hang out with my friend than just never talk about anything and make content.
Oh, really? Who are you talking with?
I'm talking with you, silly. Don't you be like that. Little mister.
Spanking Tom?
I mean, if you want to.
And the Sunday Sampler didn't return this week because I actually had a visitor and ended up chatting for a while. And it was another week of nothing really coming out because of the Steam Summer Sale and not diving far enough in my backlog to find anything interesting. Granted, Dead Cells is coming out early access in a few weeks, so maybe I should go and take another look at that because it seems to have had quite a few changes. So that's going to be on the docket, most likely, and also, maybe some actual games that come out recently. Actually, have one that has an embargo on Monday. I'm going to have to take a look at that. So an embargo at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I imagine that's launch time. I always have a kind of mixed feelings whenever there's a game that has the embargo literally when it launches. But we've talked about embargoes before. Yeah, they're not inherently a bad thing, but they can be a bad thing.
Yeah. Yep, we've had that conversation, I think, twice.
Yeah. Just
at least on air. Yeah. Maybe even more off air.
Yeah, need to look to see what is actually coming out in the next few weeks because summertime's already slow, and around the Steam Summer Sale, people don't want to release for some crazy reason on PC. I can't imagine why. Something about getting lost in all the madness of the praising of Gaben.
Indeed.
So it's naturally a drought, and it's made even worse so. And just gotten content that I've been really happy with, so I haven't put it out. Trying to have some semblance of quality outside of RimWorld, at least. So yeah, that's my YouTube channel. You can find it all over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage, or see me tweet occasionally over on the Twitter, Gaming with CR. I haven't tweeted in a few days. Maybe I should, make some sort of, I would say witty comment, but that's too much trouble right now. But yeah, that is it for us. But the podcast also has a Twitter, which is VGL Podcast, or you can email us vglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, gaming-related topics, or your questions, which we should have done this week, but didn't think of it until we were halfway through the show.
Yeah, it's all right.
But hey, we got the 2.5 hour mark, so that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
And if it's good enough for you, maybe help pay for the podcast. Patreon.com/VGL Podcast, which has paid for our Podbean account, vglpodcast.podbean.com, which hosts the RSS feed, the show notes, or if you want to, catch us somewhere else, you could do so. iTunes, Google Play, both of our YouTube channels, Twitch, which is a week behind, or wherever Jared has stuck us, which we probably don't want to know about.
Like Spreaker. That's still broken, by the way, but, I just like to say Spreaker. It's a fun word.
Yeah, you sound broken whenever you say it. It sounds like you're trying to say squeaker, but you've tripped over yourself.
Spreaker. Spreaker.
Or it still sounds like a noise that Jerry Lewis would make as you're beating him to death.
Or cat. As you're beating it to death.
What about Jerry Lewis with a cat?
You're beating Jerry Lewis, who is beating a cat to death?
Yes. And our outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and our Discovery cue music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. His work can be found at incompetech.com, and
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Maybe it sounds like your voice is trying to break when you're saying squeaker or squeaker.
Squeaker?
Or at least that one time
Speaker.
you had some sort of a weird squeak, at least in my ear.
I have those sometimes. I haven't gone through puberty yet. My voice breaks occasionally.
Maybe someday.
Indeed.
But that would require you to grow up.
Nope. Never gonna happen.
All right, Peter.
Anyways, bye-bye.
Bye.